Hello friends, I am so excited about today's video. I was invited by Brandi over at the DIY Struggle, and she has gotten together a collab. The DIY Struggle presents Creating Through the Season. And she's invited a lot of us to get together and create with her products. She sent us all some of her products to create with because she is such a generous soul. And I am so excited to show you what I created. I'm going to give you a little sneak preview, which I like to do. This cute little ornament, this little cup, isn't it so cute? This beautiful decoupage paper. Let's get to crafting.
We're going to use this beautiful decoupage paper and this big ornament sign that my neighbor brought to me, who lives down the street, who found out that I had a YouTube channel that she was watching and realized that we were neighbors. How cool is that? Anyway, she brought me a bag full of goodies, and this was in there, and so we're going to create with it today. We are going to use some faded burlap by DIY and give it one good coat, the entire piece, with this, because I like to paint underneath the decoupage paper just in case the wood shows through. I like to give it a good coat of paint. This step might not have been necessary with this color of decoupage paper, but better safe than sorry. So I cut it down to size so it will fit around there. So I don't want to have a lot of excess paper to deal with. So I just sort of pressed it around the edges and then just cut off a little, as much of the excess as I can. Now, Mod Podge is my choice for decoupaging, my decoupage medium. So I'm going to take some water and, like Brandi says, give it a little spritzy spritz. I'm going to this is a mister bottle, so it's just misting the paper. And then I'm going to set that aside. I'm going to give it a healthy coat of Mod Podge, making sure that I get it all the way out to the edges, because nothing is worse than getting your project finished and the paper coming up around the edges. So they're taking good time to get it around the edges. Now I'm going to take this moistened paper and lay it down just on that part that I've already gotten. And then I'm going to work it down so that there's no air bubbles underneath and no wrinkles. Being careful not to work it too much with my hands, or it will absolutely rip the paper. So I'm going to work it with that fan brush that has the decoupage medium in it, the Mod Podge in it. This fan brush also comes from Brandi's website, and it is an amazing fan brush. Her fan brushes are like none other I've ever used, and I really do like them. And so I'm just going to continue this all the way down this ornament, all the way down to the bottom, using this method. I'm not sure if I'm going to show you the entire thing. It's the same. Be careful using those fingers, Kendra, because I have ripped so many projects using my fingers. You can also use a little piece of wadded up saran wrap. I'm sure you'll see some people in this collab do that. And then while this is still damp, I'm going to go ahead and rip the paper off and get as much of it off as I can. And then I'm going to let it completely dry. Just let it dry. I use my heat gun a little bit, but then I really like to just let it dry naturally. Then I had this in my stash, and this is like a little aha moment I had with this little bronzing cream. That sponge I didn't even know was in there. I've had this for a very long time, but I didn't like it. I didn't like how it was working. So I get out the golden rule, what is it called, from DIY. That wasn't working. So I get out the acrylic metallic paint. That wasn't working because, this is metal. So I took it off and I took it outside and I spray painted it. But I used a rose gold because I didn't really think I wanted that really shiny gold. So that step's coming. Okay, so here I'm just doing that method where we just used our little sanding block, piece of sandpaper. You can use an emery board, you can use a finger sander, and just go in a downward motion, and it'll just peel right off. This excess paper will just peel right off. I did that all the way around the edges. Now, where those slats are, I'm just going to take my X-Acto knife very gently and slowly. I'm going to lay it against that slat and then just slide it down. You have to use a really sharp blade and make sure your paper is completely dry. If the paper is moist, it will just wad up and rip and tear and make a big huge mess. So you want to make sure that it's really dry, and then it'll just slide right off and it'll make a nice clean edge. If you have some little areas that are still a little bit rough, you can just take your little finger sander, your little emery board, whatever you sand with, and just run it over it very gently, and it will turn out beautiful. So here, I had the rose gold. I didn't like the color, so I thought, well, now that it's painted, I'll just go over it with this wax. Well, guess what? It was pulling off the paint. So, yeah, I didn't like it. I didn't like the way it was looking. I didn't like the way it was working. So, look, I just took a wet wipe and it just, every bit of it wiped off. The paint, the wax, all of it. So back to square one. Took it outside, spray painted it with some gold spray paint. And I'm just going to use it. It's fine. Everything's fine. And then I had painted that with that gold, what is that called? Golden Rule. Golden Rule by DIY. And I knew that, the glue was going to have a hard time, the glue sticking to it. So I sanded it. You can see I sanded it there. And then I'm taking a little strip of canvas drop cloth. That's what this stuff is called. And I glued it to my little wood piece. And then now I'm going to glue this little metallic piece to that drop cloth. I just felt like there was more, it was going to be more substantial that way. Okay, now I had this little piece of greenery in my stash that I've had. I picked it up on clearance somewhere after the season, last year, year before last, who knows when. And then I made this little bow. I decided that big pine cone had to go. I stuck that greenery through the back of the bow, and then we're just going to glue all that down. Put a big mess of hot glue on the back, and then I may or may not have stapled that end down. I'm not sure. Then I have these beautiful gold pit berries I've had in my stash from Dollar Tree, and I just wind it around my finger, slip my finger out, and make these little curly cues. I'm going to stick 3 of them in. I'm just going to cut them and poke them in, and then I glued them in. I put a little glue on the end and poked it in, and this is how it turned out. I am so glad that you joined us today, creating through the season. I hope that you get inspired and that you watch the playlist, and it will be linked in the description box below. And there are 11 or 12 of us on the playlist. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 of us on this playlist. And here we are. Look at this lineup. Be sure that you go and check out all of these ladies and look at all the beautiful creations. Now, back to creating. Look at this beautiful paper that Brandi sent me. Now, I loved that old stamp, but I'm not going to be able to use that on this piece. What I decided to use was on the other side. But look at all that music, all the Christmas blessings, all the trees, all the beautiful Christmas colors. But what I'm actually going to use now is this little piece with the Christmas trees. That's what I'm going to use. So I'm just going to cut out that little section sometime today. Okay, there we go. We're just going to cut out that little section. And then I had this book that I had created previously, and I had done a couple of them on a stack. And I just took the embellishments off, and we're gonna recreate it today. I just covered the cover that was on the book. You can see there, that was the cover that was on the book. I covered it with some of that brown packing paper, and then just did white dry brush over it. And that's how I created that look. And maybe some brown dry brush to it. Looks like a little distressing. So I love to do the wet tear method, where you just wet the paper and then tear it to give those torn edges. I love to do this. So I'm going to do it. I'm going to do this method and get it the size that I want it to go inside this book. or on the front cover of this book, not inside it. We're not going to put it inside the book. That would be silly because then you wouldn't see it. Okay, I digress. Let's get back to crafting. Okay, so I'm going to show you the whole thing. Yeah, just wet it and just gently, carefully. I sped this up. I'm not really going this fast. I take it slow so you don't rip more than you want like I did on that corner, but it still looks cute. Okay, so now I'm going to paint the back of this decoupage paper because I don't really want that brown to show through. So I chose a color that I thought was pretty close to the background of that, and I did just a really light coat. And then I'm going to set that aside to dry completely. Or I might use my heat gun a little bit. And then I'm going to put some Mod Podge on the back because we're going to do the iron-on method with this. I love to use the iron-on method. So we're going to put a nice coat of that on the back and set it aside to dry. In the meantime, we need to cover up this spine because when I took off the embellishments, it made a mess. So we're going to take some canvas drop cloth and we're just going to cut it the size we want to make it fit. And I like to take the edge of my scissors and just kind of fray the edges and make it look a little rustic. And then I'm just going to take some of that Mod Podge I had left in that dish and put it on the back of this little piece of drop cloth. You could use any kind of glue or adhesive that you want because drop cloth is pretty forgiving. I didn't have enough, so I went ahead and added some more. I just had that Mod Podge handy. I bought a gallon of Mod Podge off Amazon in 2018 and I'm still using it. And yes, it's still good. So there you go. It's just been really, really good to me. So this ribbon I got from Sam's. I think I got this last year. But that Sam's ribbon is so amazing. You do not want to snooze. When you see the Sam's seasonal ribbon, you better grab your roll. It will last you and last you. And it's really good quality. So I'm just cutting it down to the size that I want it. I'm just going to make it fit in there because don't know why. This was just a look I thought would look good. I just thought it would look cute. So I'm just going to use some more of that Mod Podge as a glue. And I put it on pretty thick. And then I'm just going to rub and get that glue all the way through and saturate it. Now, back to the front of our book. I'm going to put this where I want it. I'm going to put a piece of parchment paper on top. And then I'm going to use my little mini press, heat press. But you can use any kind of iron as long as you don't have steam. This is going to reactivate that Mod Podge and glue it down with no wrinkles, no bubbles, no nothing. Now I'm just going to take some more of that ribbon to tie it all together and see how big I want my bow. I'm just going to make that little loop. I'm going to take that wire that I cut off the edge and just tie it around the center. Make sure my loops are the same size. There, fold them up, make sure they're the same size, and tie it. I am not the best bow maker on YouTube. So if you need bow tutorials, I'm sure there are a lot out there that could teach you better than me. But this is how I do it. I do simple. I don't do elaborate bows. I like simple bows. And so this is how I do it. I'm going to put that in the middle. Then I had this little sprig of greenery because I don't throw anything away. And then I made a little bitty twine bow to glue on top of it. And then I thought that looked really cute in the middle, but I thought it was lacking something. And I'm not really good at all that floral. Oh, got to clean my mess up. I'm not real good at all that floral arranging, but this is a transfer from Brandi's website, and the transfers are absolutely gorgeous and so easy to work with. I didn't even paint this little wood round. I got these little wood rounds off Amazon, and they're very affordable and so easy to work with. And I thought that it didn't even need to be painted. Look how beautiful this little nutcracker looks on here, and look how easy that was to transfer. It's so pretty and it's so smooth. Now I'm just going to take the Best Dang Wax from Dixie Belle and give it a nice little coat on top to seal it in. And then I'm going to take some jute twine and make a little hanger for it. And we're going to hang it from that bow on the book. I just thought that this little nutcracker transfer coordinated well with that paper. Now I'm going to glue that to the bow. You can see what I'm doing. And then put that Just assemble it. I'm going to glue it all down and assemble it. Okay, just watch. Just watch what I do. Yeah, just glue. I'm just gluing that. I mean, you can do that however you want to. This is just how I did it. You know, not everybody's going to always have the same exact supplies. So our videos are absolutely for inspiration, to get you motivated to create your own, use books that you have, take some of your old decor that you're tired of looking at, and go ahead and say, I can make something new out of this. Let me just take off the old embellishments and put on new embellishments. Now, these are those little garland ties from Dollar Tree, and I was trying to figure out how I could put them on here and make this, you know, a little fuller. And so this is what I did. I just cut a couple, 4 little pieces to be exact, down, and just glued them on that, in that bow, like you see me doing here. And then I'm going to put that other little teeny tiny garland piece that I created on top. And this is how it turned out. My mom gave me a box of old picture frames, and this one was in there, and I love the bones of it, but not so much the color, so I took it outside and I spray painted it with a black matte spray paint, and this is how it turned out. I think it turned out really good. And now this was a piece of decoupage paper. It's an 8, probably, I'm not sure the dimensions of that piece of paper, but this was the whole piece of paper from Brandi's website, and this is also one of her wood embellishments. I love her wood embellishments. You need to check them out. The prices are very affordable, and they are high quality. Now I'm going to take this. Okay, so this was probably 8 by 10 piece that I'm putting it on, because that's the piece that came out of the frame. So I'm pretty sure that's probably 8 by 10. So that you can see how the size of the paper. So I'm just going to take this paint. I don't even know what color it is. It doesn't matter. It's just a light color paint, and I'm painting it before we decoupage, just like in the previous project that we did. Mod Podge again, of course, and going to give it a thick coat, because I'm pretty sure, I don't know, I did this DIY weeks ago, so I'm really not sure what I did, but the way I'm drying it down, I think we're going to do the iron-on method. Now I took Barn Red paint by Dixie Belle, and I started with this big chippy brush, thinking I'm going to just dab, 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 pounce, pounce in there, but those bristles wouldn't really get down in there, so I had to get a smaller old stencil brush that has really stiff bristles, and I was able to get it down in there. Now, that thing was a little labor intensive to paint, but so worth it, because look. Now watch when I take this sawmill gravy. I think that's what I painted the backing with. And I'm going to do a dry brush. I'm wiping that paint so that I get it all the way up the sides when I do that, for when I dry brush, because I like to lay the brush on its side and drag it across to dry brush, and using a very light hand, not doing it like we're actually going in there and painting, but just barely dry brushing over it. And look how it brings out all those beautiful details. I'm telling you, this thing is, you can't even capture it on camera how beautiful this piece is. Look at that. Ah, I'm in love with that piece. Okay, the Mod Podge is dry now, and we're going to put our piece of paper on there. We're going to put a piece of parchment paper on to protect our beautiful decoupage paper. Now, your clumsy girl has to bobble everything up. Okay, here we go. Hold it down, put my parchment paper on, slip my hand out, and then just use my little heat press and iron it down. And it's going to be flawless. There's not going to be any wrinkles, no bubbles. Here's the big reveal. Ta-da! And look how beautiful that red piece looks in there. Now the IOD Snow Globes mold is what I'm going to use now. I'm going to use this little Christmas tree and a little star out of this. Now I was debating on which tree to use, but I ended up using that one. Now I'm going to take some cornstarch and just use a brush and brush it in there. And then I'm going to take some air dry clay, work it in my hands, and then I'm going to pinch it up. I'm going to run it. I'm not running it anywhere. I'm going to press it down into the mold, and then you can use your finger, but I don't know if it's my nails or what. I don't have much luck trying to push it out with my thumb, like I see a lot of girls do, or a lot of people do. And so I like to use, you can use an old gift card or something. I like to have the back flat. That works really well for me. And then you just roll it to release it, kind of press that down like that. And then same with I did some little snowflakes too, but I didn't end up using them. And then my teeny tiny little star. Now I'm going to take some green paint. Pretty sure this is Monet's Garden by DIY. And then some gold, probably Queen Bee. And paint those and set them aside to dry. And then I'm going to just take some Titebond Quick and Thick and some hot glue. And we're going to glue this to the center of our piece of paper that we decoupaged. Right in the middle. And then just press it down firmly so it adheres. Then we're going to use a little bit of the Titebond Quick and Thick on our little tree, and we want to make sure that we get the glue all the way out to the edges so that this thing will adhere nicely. And then I'm just going to gently press it because I don't want to mess up all the little details in it. And the same thing with the star. We're just going to put the star right above the tree. And then let's see what we do next. What are we going to do next? Oh, we're going to dry brush a little bit on our tree. I did a little bit lighter green. I did a tiny little bit of white so it looked like snow. And then on the star, I did that golden rule so that it was shiny. And then I took the golden rule and just put a few little dots all over the tree so it can look like lights or ornaments. And then I took it outside and I sprayed it with a matte spray sealer. Now I made 4 big loops, left a couple tails, and gonna use a twisty tie. And it's like those twisty ties that you get that are annoying when you buy something and everything's all twisty tied together. I saved those. Okay, and I'm just gonna glue a little loop together. I'm gonna put that with a twisty tie right down in the middle of my bow to make that center loop. And we have a bow, folks. I don't know why I'm taking so long to do it, but I am. Okay, now we're going to put our beautiful piece that we created in here and add a little extra piece of foam board because for some reason it needed it. And lock it down tight. And looky, looky, looky. Let's put our bow on. Oh, first we're going to use some of that golden rule just right on that little raised area. Just going to use my finger. I don't care if it's, perfect, because when you get them from the store, they're not perfect. And I think this just added that extra little touch it needed because that little gold lantern in the paper and the little gold star. And then we're just going to put this little traditional colored ribbon bow right up on top. And this one is finished. Let me know what you think about this. Okay, now our little cup. This thing is so cute. I got these at Dollar Tree. They come multiples in a pack. And then this is one of Brandi's rub-on transfers. I'm going to glue 3 of these together to make it thicker. They're a little bit thin. I mean, if you just want to use one, just use one. But I'm going to make mine a little bit thicker. So I'm going to use some Type Bond Quick and Thick. I'm just going to do a super thin layer. It looks like I'm putting a lot on there. I did put a little bit much on the third one, or the second one. I mean, yeah, well, it's the third one I'm gluing together, but the second application of glue. And then I'm just going to use those little clamps from Dollar Tree. And in about 10-15 minutes, it was dry. And then I painted the bottom of it red by Dixie Belle. And then on the other side, we're going to use this beautiful little piece of decoupage paper that I cut off of a larger piece. And then just going to put some, now the other side of this is red. We're going to use some Mod Podge for everything in this video. I'm going to give it a little spritzy spritz, and then get my hair, go show you my hair a little bit, and then we're just going to go ahead and put this down. Same way we've been doing all of them. Well, we did some iron on and we've done some of this. Now, once we're done, it's all dry, we're just going to cut most of the excess off, and then we're going to dry it down with our, okay, it wasn't completely dry when I trimmed that off, but now we're going to light it on fire. This cup is on fire. It's on fire. But that will burn the excess off. And I'm being very careful. I've got some water next to me. I have a fire blanket in my craft cottage, just in case there's any kind of fire out there. But this is a good way to just burn the edges. And then I just take my little wet wipe and I just rub the edges to get it clean, and it gives it that little burnt edge, and I kind of like it because it looks distressed. Okay, just making sure all the edges are down good and it looks beautiful. Now, I was going to try to rub this transfer on here. I don't know what it was about this paint, but it was not having this transfer. I don't know. I don't know if the paint was very thick, and I've had this paint for a while, so I don't know if it was, I'm pretty sure it was the paint, because I've never ever had an issue with these transfers before. But when I went to burnish it, it was really sticky, and then I went to just kind of rub it with my hands, and yeah, I could just rub it all right off. So I decided to just wipe it off and then take some white paint and just dry brush the edges and just leave the back side, make this be the back side. I was making it two-sided. This is just what the back side's going to look like. Okay, now I'm going to take some white paint and this sponge dauber and just paint that white and both sides. Now only the front side with the floral decoupage paper are we going to use some joint compound. I used this in my video last week and had so much fun with it, so we're going to use it again. Now I got way too much, but I wasn't sure how much I needed, so yeah, I'm going to add some white paint to it. It dries white. Once it dries, it's pink, so you can kind of see where it's supposed to be, but it got a little bit thin and runny with the paint in it, but that's okay. And I'm just going to smear it on here like it's our whipped topping, and you decide what's in this cup. I'm saying it's hot cocoa. I don't like hot cocoa. I don't like coffee. I'm a hot tea drinker, and I don't want any whipped cream on top of my tea. So we're going to call it hot cocoa. Look at that. Look at that cuppa. Now, I thought about putting some greenery or something like that on it, but nobody has greenery on their cup. Now, who doesn't love a snowman DIY at Christmas? So I have these little white plastic ornaments that I got from Amazon to use in my Sunday school class, and I just stippled some white paint on it to give it some texture. And we are going to just use this little transfer. Yep, it came from Brandi's website. and we're just going to rub it down there. Just rub it, rub it, rub it, and it transfers beautifully. Even on this textured, it was textured because I stippled the paint on there. So, and it transferred, you know, beautifully. I was really scared it wasn't going to come up, so I was going slow, but when I finally just bit the bullet and pulled it off, it just came right up. The paper just came right off. Look. Yes. And it's so pretty. Okay. Then I have this little chunk of wood. Just had some in my stash. Of course, I've always got all kinds of wood out there in the stash. I painted the back side with Hey Sailor. I painted the front side just white. And then we have this beautiful decoupage paper from Brandi's website. All of my stuff is from Brandi's website. All the decoupage papers and transfers. And I'm going to just cut it down to size. I wanted to make sure I had those little snowmen on there to tie into our little theme. And I love this. Blue is absolutely my favorite color. And yeah, I'm going to use my fan brush. I'm going to give my little paper a spritzy spritz. And or 2 little spritzy spritz. I'm going to dry my table off. I don't want water everywhere. Okay. Now I'm going to do that same method that I've been doing where I just put a little, I don't want to get a lot of that, let me just interrupt myself here. I don't want to get a lot of the Mod Podge around the edge because when I go to sand my paper off, that causes problems with the Mod Podge on there sometimes. So I want to be careful to get it all the way out to the edge, but not dripping over the edge. Just wipe off the excess. So we're just going to apply a little bit at a time, working our way down. And look how beautiful this paper is. Oh, look at just all the little beautiful things in it. The trees, the ornaments, the wreaths, the snowmen, the poinsettias. Look at the little carousel horse. It's such a pretty color of blue. It's not really picking up good on screen, but it is so pretty. It's one of my favorite papers I've ordered from her. I think I actually ordered this one from her, but she has sent me so many papers. Okay, now we're going to take this sanding block and just in a downward motion, and that paper just comes right off. Look at that. And if you don't like that raw edge that it makes, it's just a tiny little bit of a raw edge, you could always go back in and kind of dry brush around the edges and fill that back in. Or you can use an X-Acto knife like I did on the first project and go ahead and just cut really close to the edge. I'm going to clean up my crumbs, get those out of the way, and then I'm going to take this silver leaf. It's like Rub and Buff. It is Rub and Buff, but it's silver leaf, and I'm going to go around this top part because where that, you're not even going to see this in the end, so I don't even know why I did this, because that little ornament hanger part was just too silver and cheesy looking. This greenery came from Hobby Lobby, and it is like sparkly eucalyptus, and I cannot get that glitter off my table. It's like going to be there till next Christmas, I'm sure. I'm going to use, of course, we're going to use some chiffon ribbon. Now I'm just trying to figure out how I'm going to use it, how I want it to look, how I can make it work, what's going to look, how I want it to look. I'm not sure. I started to say how it's going to look right, but that just because I like it doesn't mean it's right. But this is how I decided to do it. I'm going to tie that around there. We're going to just glue the little eucalyptus. After I got it glued down, I ended up cutting some pieces. Well, I cut some pieces before, and then I went back in and cut more pieces off because my bow wouldn't lay right in the center. But that's what we do, right? We just adjust. Like, here I go. I'm going to cut some more. Okay, now I'm going to make a little finger bow. If you don't know how to make a finger bow, I have a slowed down instructional in the description box, how to make a bow and a tassel. And it's super easy, super duper easy. And then we're just going to glue that right in the middle. Well, I do cut those tails off. I cut the tails off because we already have some tails on there. And then just glue that in the middle. And this little shelf sitter is done. Yeah. Oh, here I go. I'm going to cut those. See, I'm cutting some more off because the bow won't fit in there. As soon as we get this little bow glued down, it's done.
hope that you enjoyed this video, all of these beautiful creations, and I hope that you're inspired. Go check out Brandi's website. Check out the playlist that's linked in the description box below or in the first comment. It's going to be pinned in the first comment. Check out these ladies for some awesome inspiration. You are going to see some amazing talent on in this collab. But most of all, I want you to remember to be still and know that He is God.